Hey Shmoo, um, in order for you to understand how I took over YouTube, you need to understand why I took over YouTube. If you just want to hear how I took it over, then I'll put a timestamp in the comments. Okay, so first, there was the internet, and all you could do was chat and play chess. And I bought a Dreamcast, and on the Dreamcast, you could play 4 players. And so I invited all my friends over. We bought enough controllers, and we played this football game. And we figured out between the 4 of us that if we ran this play in high green to the left, that we could get a touchdown every single time because it was the 4 of us. Like, I was quarterback, one would be fullback, one would be tight end. We'd hike, they would get their 2 blocks easily, but then I would run off screen past out of screen, and when he came around the corner, then I would take the safety as the person we were playing would take that character. And so it worked every single time. It was hilarious. But it only worked if all 4 of us did it together. Uh, if we tried it just 2 or 3 of us, then it didn't work. So then there was Napster. And at first I hated Napster. I was a musician. I sold CDs when I toured. That was half of my income. And so I was very against people just like trading music freely. But then I thought, maybe there's some minor threat on there. And I looked it up, and the whole catalog was on there, plus like demos and live shit. And it was just like, okay, I give up. There's just no more money in music. It's like volunteer work at this point. So then it cut to a few years later, there's MySpace. And they didn't farm our data. They had a message board that was totally democratic. It helped my music career. Like, I saw that every time I refreshed the page, it would change the view count. Like, I would get another view, even though it was my own IP. So I just opened up 1,000 windows, all playing my own song, and then it showed on my music player that I had 1,000 players or 1,000 plays. And then I started emailing, bars saying, hey, can I come play? And then they'd come look at my MySpace and see that, had like, thousands of plays, and I would get gigs. But then Smoke and Mirrors only worked so far because, my first couple of shows, there wasn't a whole lot of people there. So it's like I looked popular on paper, but, it was false advertising. And, but once I got my foot in the door, I played my ass off, and then I got fans legitimately, and then, I started to grow a following legitimately. But, faking interest helped me get my foot in the door. So, another thing I did on MySpace was that there was, we used to put out flyers, like bands used to put out flyers and tape them to, posts and put them in windows, and like it was part of the fun in being a band was putting your flyer everywhere. And so what I did, because MySpace, I started going around just pilfering artists with requests to if they wanted to do the flyer for my next show. And I ended up with like these amazing flyers. Like I had like the best flyers in town, really. And for free. They just did it for free because they knew that their artwork was going to be, their talent was going to be shown all over San Francisco. And some of those, I'm still friends with some of the artists today. So, MySpace was great for networking. And but there wasn't any video. And then a friend of mine, Chris Manley, he was an actor, and he was in a film, and to promote his film, he put like what must be like one of the first videos on the internet, and it was like a trailer from film he was in, and everybody was just like, ooh, look, video. It was like 1950s, and the TVs being invented, and people gathering around storefront windows looking at TVs. You know, everybody was like, ooh, wow, video. He was just smart enough to go to Apple where the trailer was, and then go into the back end and see where the code was for the video, and then throw it into MySpace, and it worked because MySpace was like HTML friendly. You know, it was really fun for coding. It was super simple. But then, you know, you got kids like throwing 1,000 different flashes on it and causing people to have like epileptic seizures and stuff, to where MySpace has to get like a warning label on it saying, hey, this website might cause epileptic seizures, you know. So then YouTube appeared, and the whole world was like, thank God, video. And 99% of the content on YouTube when it launched was music videos, which they did not pay for. None of the artists that they used to establish themselves as a video medium got paid. None of the artists got paid. None of the directors of the videos got paid. None of the producers that forwarded the money to make the music videos got paid. None of the record labels that kept the music industry flowing got paid. YouTube just, the people that invented YouTube made $1 billion off of, you know, my industry's art. And it hardly worked. It was constantly crashing. Like you would see a video of a YouTube video on a MySpace page, and you'd click play, and just nothing would happen. And sometimes it would be like that for days. Just like you just wouldn't even attempt to hit play because you knew that YouTube was down. So they could hardly handle the traffic that was coming their way. So then the Iraq War happens. And the amazing thing in the Iraq War was that the soldiers, whenever they put, you know, soldiers on the ground, the soldiers put their phones, which had like, you know, 480p cameras in them, but they would put it in their lapel and then go into battle and film themselves going into battle, and then, you know, the aftermath and everything, and then they would go back to the barracks and upload the video on YouTube, and then they're all like competing with each other for like who can get the most views. And so me sitting at home, I was getting up in the morning with my coffee and smoking a little weed, turn on YouTube. All I had to do was type in Iraq and then most recent, and I was literally in, you know, the, what's the word? I was there. I was in the battlefield. And like I have vivid memories to this day of the things that I saw. Like they're going into battle and then filming, like, you know, dead bodies and stuff, people that they'd killed, just sticking the cameras all proud and laughing at them, you know, being brutal because it's war, you know. And so then this made headlines, and the Pentagon said, hey, cut that out. And this is the first time that YouTube and the Pentagon started communicating, because YouTube bent to the will of the Pentagon and took all the videos down, and then must have put some kind of block into the algorithm to where you couldn't post anything about, like, or from those barracks, I guess, or something. I don't know how they isolated, how they stopped it, but they did. So, but that was the most revolutionary thing that had ever happened at that point, because it was people seeing the carnage of Vietnam War on TV that made the American public finally give up and stop supporting the war. It was when that Southern Vietnamese soldier that was supposed to be fighting for our side walked up to that defenseless guy with his hands tied behind his back and shot him in the head. Like, people saw that and they were repulsed and couldn't support the war anymore. So, you know, the fact that YouTube and the Pentagon said, hey, don't do that anymore, that's, you know. So, I was a musician, so I used YouTube just to post a couple shows that I played. And that was all I used it for. But then this guy, Mike Gravel, ran for president. And I just loved this dude. Like, he got on stage and, like, you should go and watch the debates that he was on. He was an amazing dude. And so I joined his campaign and I started vlogging on his behalf. And so he made this rock video, and where he just walked up to the camera and stared at the camera for like a solid minute, and then he turns around, walks a little bit, picks up a rock, and then throws it into a pond, and it splashes. And then he walks away, walks off into the distance. He doesn't say a word in the whole video. But the video was a total smash. And it got like 500,000 hits. And this is when 500,000 hits was like, holy, like the whole world was watching. 500,000 hits was hot. And it helped his campaign, and it was famous, and it never aired on TV. So in a way, he legitimized YouTube, inadvertently. Not voluntarily, involuntarily. And because he showed, like, this is a platform where you can post things and get seen. You don't need mainstream media. You can use our device and you'll be seen by the public. And so then Mike Gravel gets booted from the debates. And the crazy thing is that the debates were on MSNBC, and it wasn't even MSNBC that sent the letter. It was General Electric themselves that sent Mike Gravel the letter saying that he was no longer welcome to the debates. And General Electric is like military-industrial complex. So, like, the military-industrial complex itself told Mike Gravel, you're no longer welcome. And it said because he hadn't raised $1 million, which is like, okay, so you have to get the health insurance lobby behind you to get on stage to debate about whether we should have health care or not. It makes no sense, but that's our system. And they said that he wasn't pulling 10%, and he was pulling 12%. And Joe Biden was pulling like 7-8%. So they should have kicked off Joe Biden, but instead Joe Biden was left on the stage because he's, part of the system. So YouTube, so MSNBC kicked him out of the debates, and then YouTube took him off the list of candidates, even though he was still running for president. So YouTube benefited from him, they benefit from him making this rock video and showing that YouTube is like a legitimate outside source of ways of getting to the public. And then they participated in censoring him with, establishment media. So then Google bought YouTube. This is all happening at the same time. And things started to change real quick. And there used to be debates on YouTube, and where people were like arguing with each other through the camera, like how I'm talking to you right now. Like, they were screaming at each other about whether or not God existed. And it was like all the rage. That was like YouTube. It was music videos and people screaming at each other through the camera about whether or not God existed. And that was YouTube.com. And then when Google bought it, all of a sudden it started to change to, there was this girl, something 17, I can not remember the name, but it was just this girl talking endlessly into the camera about her life. And she wasn't talking to anyone. She was just, talking to her audience, just talking to no one, and then YouTube started promoting this stuff, and the debates pretty much disappeared. Like, you had to be subscribed and you had to be in these networks to even see these videos of these debates that were still happening. And so then it turns out later that this girl 17, this channel is actually fake, and the girl is actually not a teenager. She's in her 20s, and she's an actor, and it's a set in Los Angeles, and she's reading from a script. Like, the whole thing was fake. But then the public young people who were watching this channel found this out, and then they didn't even care. They still kept watching it. It was like one of their favorite shows. So they're like, oh, we don't care if it's fake. And so then they started promoting this Girl 17 stuff, where people are like talking to no one, just talking to their imaginary audience in the camera. They start promoting this stuff all over, and this brainwashed the public into making videos like that. Make videos like this and you'll get more views. Like, debates is passe. That's not going to work anymore. That's what YouTube brainwashed the public into thinking, coerced them, tricked them, with the view count and with what was popular, So people started doing that. Even the people that used to have debates started making vlogs where they were just, rambling to nobody and being like narcissistic instead of conversing with people and using YouTube as a communications device. So like this, they were able to change it from a communications device into a ad agency, a money-making scheme. So they got users to start thinking of themselves as individuals, and started getting people to behave more narcissistically, and then like this, they can control the content because they can manipulate individuals easier than they can a collective. So one, they got rich off of music videos. That pissed me off. Two, they benefited from Mike Gravel, and then they participated in censoring him. And then three, I was watching them take what was at that point a democratic institution, because the views and the sub count were all real at that point. And then they were using the fact that people trusted the numbers to then brainwash the public into believing that what YouTube was pushing was in fact popular. And this is a crime. This is false advertisement. This is what cults do. And they should have to issue an apology to the public and be forced to disclose every detail concerning this matter. They absolutely should. So anyways, I was pissed. And so one morning, I was smoking some weed, drinking my coffee, and I was uploading a video. And this was late into the Mike Gravel campaign. Like, Obama had pretty much won the ticket. And so I'm sitting there smoking some weed, and I was looking at YouTube, and YouTube had a front page, and it was kind of like Yahoo News. And I was looking at the front page, and on the front page it had most viewed, most commented, and most replied. And so I had about 100 videos, and so I thought to myself, maybe if I make all of my videos replies to my own video, then it'll be the most replied video. And so I did that. It took about 5 minutes, and voila, it worked. And I was on the front page of YouTube. And it was like, I freaked out, and emailed all of my friends, and I was like a popular musician at the time and working on the Mike Gravel campaign, so I had, a big email chain. And so I was like, everybody, like, look, I'm on the front page. And then, so they flooded the comments, And then like that, it became the most commented. And then it started getting like tens of thousands of views because it's on the front page and it's 1, 2. And the third one, it had about like 40,000 views. And so I just kept refreshing like every hour. And every hour it was like another, 10,000 views. And then by 3 o'clock that afternoon, I refreshed it, and my video had become the most viewed, most commented, and most replied video of that day. And it was like a roulette wheel, like jackpot, like all three. Boom, boom, boom. My video at the top of the front page of the most heavily trafficked website on earth. So I went to bed feeling very good about myself, and the next morning I pull up YouTube and I've got a message directly from YouTube headquarters. And there's an actual hand-typed message, like some human being at YouTube, probably with their boss looking over their shoulder, had to actually like send me a personal message accusing me of spam, and if I did it again, that they would terminate my account. And this was before the 3 strikes rule existed. And but they left the video up, and it's got like 57,000 views. And once a video peaks, that's it. It's like, it can say 100,000 views, but if it says next to it like even 3 or 4 months old, then people are going to feel like they already missed out on it, so they don't watch it. So that was that. I took over the channel, and they said, don't do it again or we're going to terminate your account. And so the effects, what did I accomplish? Well, YouTube had to go in like with scissors and tape and manually cut me out of the algorithm, because like before they did anything, like I was getting like 1,000 to 5,000 views a video, and after that I could barely break like 500. And like my subs were the only ones that were seeing my videos. My videos weren't going out into the algorithm anymore. And okay, so 2, I showed them that I showed that they're not invincible. That like any website, they're susceptible to being taken over by its users. 3, I forced them to respond. They had to address me personally, like this $1 billion company. Like literally, they had just been bought for $1 billion. That's what they were worth. And I'm sitting in my apartment in, California, poor as fuck, and they had to respond directly to me. I showed that I'm clever. I was the only person on the entire planet that thought of it. So I play a lot of chess. I think that played a part in it. Like Stanley Kubrick said the same thing, that if you play a lot of chess, that it'll help you think 5 moves ahead, and then you just do that with everything you do. It's like it gets your brain functioning in like a 5-move capacity. So number 5, I showed that I'm willing to do it. It was risky. They could have terminated my account. 6, it showed that I'm willing to do it for a cause and not just for the sake of vanity, not to get famous. Like I did it for Microvell. And also showed that when the public is offered something intelligent, that they'll take it. Like it was well received. Like there was nothing but positive comments, and it was like a really poorly made video with the music's too loud, and it's it's not the best video in the world, but it was really well received because the subject matter was interesting. Lastly, it served as the last hurrah for the Microvell campaign. Microvell is like a giant. He ended the draft. He read the Pentagon Papers into the public record, which set precedent, which made law that any congressperson on their very first day, if they get their hands on something classified and it benefits the public, If it's in the public's interest to know, they can release it. Any congressperson has this ability because of Mike Gravel. And the Alaskan pipeline is still to this day like one of the most advanced and eco-friendly energy reserves in the world. You just put the pipes in the air. The way it was done like that was he let the environmentalists into the conversation, and then they thought, just put it in the air instead of in the ground, and then you can fix it easier. Then you're not poisoning the ground if there's a leak. So it was an honor to be a part of Mike Gravel's campaign, and I learned like so much from him directly, like him explaining to me exactly how the system actually works and what we as individuals can actually do about it. So some people might say like, old hacks, you should have like used it to promote my channel, should have like used it to post a song. And it's like, okay, first, I didn't know if it would work. Second, like how dumb of YouTube was it to like make it that simple for someone like me to be able to just take over the whole front page. And that was the video that I happened to be posting that day. So it was luck, timing, cunningness, the fact that YouTube had pissed me off, the fact that I was already popular. I think that's also why YouTube didn't terminate my account, because I was making good content that was bringing people to the website, and I was doing this for free. So why would they want to get rid of me? So that's the story.